At one time, the All-Star Race was one of the most prestigious races that NASCAR held, and with it came a deluge of amazing great paint schemes that were one-offs. But since NASCAR doesn't exactly run with full sponsors for teams anymore for the most part, the specialty of all-star racing paint schemes has kind of went by the wayside. But today I want to go back in time and look at what are some of the best NASCAR all-star paint schemes of all time. Now the criteria for this is pretty easy. These had to be cars that were driven in the all-star race, or at least intended to be driven even if they didn't make it with the open. And, well, that's about it. So let's get right into it. At number 10, we have the 2016 Kyle Busch number 75 car. Now, to be completely honest, this car was pretty much the main paint scheme that Kyle Busch had in all of 2016, minus one big detail: the number 18 itself. With the All-Star Race being a non-points race and a special one, teams can change pretty much anything they want, and that includes numbers. We saw Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin do a similar thing in 2011. Well, why was it the 75 car? Well, this is because it was the 75th anniversary of Eminem's Mars, and it was an old school scheme. It was an old school looking number, just like the font that M&M's had used back then, and it had the old school M&M's as well as more on it, and it was just plain simple. It was a relatively old school throwback scheme while being new all on its own. And while Kyle Busch didn't do all that great with it, he at least got a top 10, finishing 10th with it. At number 9, we have Tony Stewart's 2004 car, which was his Shrek 2 car.
Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
Now, Shrek 2 came out in 2004, and this was part of the promotion leading up to the movie itself. The Shrek green actually contrasted really well with the Home Depot orange, and it made for a car that almost kind of glowed in the dark when it came to the green itself, because the orange always popped out, but the green was actually really good on it. It was a very odd car, but it fit as it was odd like the character of Shrek, and it was something that really drew kids into it. Now, Stewart ran a little bit better than most with the special scheme, as he finished 3rd in this race, but overall, it's one that's actually kind of relatively forgotten over time. At number 8 is that of Dale Earnhardt in 1999 when he ran a Wrangler throwback. Yes, throwback schemes do count as all-star schemes. See, before there was the throwback weekend at Darlington, the All-Star Race was usually used as the race that throwback schemes were used in, and this was a throwback to Dale Earnhardt's old days in the yellow and blue, which were the cars that he had the first successes of his career in. The scheme fit perfectly with the Monte Carlo body at the time, and it started sort of a semi-trend of throwback schemes in the All-Star Race at that time. Earnhardt did respectable in this race and finished 4th. At number 7 is Rusty Wallace's 2004 Vogt Millard USA car. The red, white, and blue always is going to win for me. Red, white, and blue under the lights is always going to win as well. And I think that those schemes are always goated. Plus, it's very simple, but it's effective. The stripes down the side and around the car are perfect, and they don't go over the top. And the old school blue that Miller Lite used to have looked so good, and at the same time of being dark, also looked shiny under the lights. Wallace got the pole in this race and was up front for a lot of it, but ended up finishing 9th in it. And number 6 is Kevin Harvick's 2007 silver car. This, of course, being ran in the 2007 All-Star Race, was a special paint scheme for Pennzoil, and it was its platinum scheme. Pennzoil used to do this a lot, where it would have platinum schemes that were just purely silver. And silver cars, while being something that has been seen in the past, are still relatively not as common as other schemes. So it really stood out from all of his 2007 cars overall and all the All-Star cars. He ran up front all night, but he really wasn't the one who was taking all the headlines for the most part until he ended up winning the race. It would be his only other win that year aside from the 2007 Daytona 500. Entering the top 5, we have Mark Martin with his 2005 Valvoline throwback scheme. This is another fun throwback car that really fit the era it was in. Granted, the cars weren't too different from when it was run, but it was still a car that fit in the 2005 era very well. Being red, white, and blue in the Valvoline colors, it was both patriotic and timeless, which of course makes it good for a list like this. And the car that night was blazing fast, one of the fastest cars all night, and it was shown when Martin, just like Harvick and 2 years later, would go on to win this race as well. And number 4, we're going back to 2007, and we're going back to the Blue Deuce with Kurt Busch, but it's not exactly the Blue Deuce as it's his gold Miller Lite car. This was used in all the special races in 2007, like the Budweiser Shootout and the All-Star Race, and it was solid gold. So with the shiny gold paint on that car, it absolutely shimmered in the North Carolina night. It ran fast all night, going and looking for the win, but the only thing that could get in front of a Busch and get in the way of a Busch winning is a Busch brother. And this is the car that was taken out with brother Kyle Busch in the 2007 All-Star Race that caused the two brothers not to talk to each other until Thanksgiving that year, 6 months later. Yeah, this car, for the story behind it and just how good it looked, has to be near the top of this list. While he didn't win and finished 19th, he gave it his all to win that $1 million. At number 3, we jump from 2007 to 2008 with Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s first edition of the Gray Ghost car. This was the first time Jr. used this car, and while it had the timeless silver and black on it, it also had red trim around it that really fit with both Dale Jr. at the time, the National Guard, and Three Doors Down, which was partnering up with Jr. in this year for the Citizen Soldier release, which is a good song about the military that they had. And it fit with the National Guard as well, and it was a pretty big campaign overall. It was probably the last time that Three Doors Down was actually really relevant in culture. He ran respectively for most of the night, even got the lead at one point in front of his hometown crowd, and again, it was one of the first few Gray Ghosts, but at the end he would finish 8th. At runner-up, we're going to stick with the Earnhardt family and silver cars, with Dale Earnhardt's 1995 silver invert car. Known as the first really major all-star race scheme that started this trend, this sent shockwaves through the NASCAR world, as up to this point, Dale Earnhardt was known for the Wrangler colors, and then known as the Man in Black, and basically being the Darth Vader of the Cup field. It looked great with silver and the black trim on it, and then having the Dayglow orange as the trim middle and as well as the numbers and sponsor color only made this car glow in the dark even more, and it was bad fast that night too. Earnhardt did crash late with Darrell Waltrip fighting for the win, but that's what the All-Star Race is all about, pushing it to the absolute limit. And with the finish of 14th, it was a relatively bad finish for a car that made such a shockwave through the NASCAR world for the next 15 to 20 years. At number 1, we have Jeff Gordon's 1997 T-Rex car. This was a scheme for the Jurassic Park ride, and it was red with the T-Rex on the hood, and it was also having the Jurassic Park logo of the T-Rex skeleton covering the car, giving it a red and black stripe effect. This also came out the same year as the Lost World Jurassic Park, actually around the same time, so it was part of that marketing campaign as well, which that movie, while not as good as its predecessor, was a pretty good grossing movie, and this car had a little bit to do with it. It was horribly illegal as Ray Evernham decided to push the limit with absolutely everything, and it was basically banned the day after. But it has one of the greatest stories. It won the race, that's a big one there, and it's probably the most famous car that ran in the All-Star Race's history. So this one has to be number 1. And with that, that covers the top 10 All-Star Race schemes. Now I want to hear from you. What are your favorite ones from this race? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.